Thank you for joining me today. I felt like making some potato bread, so we're going to do that. What you need to do first is boil some potatoes. Save 1 cup of the potato water. Now I think this is going to make more than 1 cup. But you want to start out by mashing the potatoes. So 6 small red potatoes. A couple of them were medium sized. Here's my 1 cup measuring container. Now you're supposed to add the 1 cup mashed potatoes to a big bowl. So I don't need the rest of those potatoes, which is fine. I'll do something with them for dinner. In that goes. And then you're supposed to mix it with the 1 cup of potato water. Now, we'll set that aside for just a sec. Now you want to get 1/4 cup of warm water. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of sugar to this and 2 packages of yeast, which would be 4 teaspoons of yeast plus a half. Here I've got my teaspoon. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And my half. Need to buy some more yeast. Uh-oh. Okay. 1 teaspoon of sugar. And I'm going to mix that. And the reason why I'm not getting another bowl out is because now I don't need to measure anything else in this measuring cup. I'm just going to let the yeast and the water and the sugar rise in here. So you let this activate. Once it starts to bubble and smell like yeast, it'll start to smell like bread, like it's fermenting, and you can actively see the bubbles on the top. You just want to stir it around until it kind of dissolves. You don't want to stir it too much, but kind of till the yeast is mixed in there with the water. Yeah, we still need that. So now let's set that aside and we'll get this ready. So now what we need to do to this is add the sugar. So we need 3/4 cups of sugar. 1, 2, 3. For the 3/4 cups. And we also need 2 teaspoons of salt. So I have to do 4 of these because it's a half. Okay. So that's 2 teaspoons of salt. And then we did, okay, so then you need to melt a 1/2 cup of butter. And I've already done that, so we're supposed to add that too. And then we mix all of this together. And we add flour to it. So I'm just going to kind of give this a stir. And you'll also need 2 eggs. And you have to add 2 eggs with milk to make 1 cup of liquid, is what the directions say. So I guess I lied. I still need my measuring cup for something, but by then we'll be adding the yeast to this. Kind of break up the potato lumps. I haven't made this very often. This is probably my, man. This is probably like my 3rd time making potato bread. So I'm not an expert at potato bread, but I've made plenty of French bread. And white breads. Country white bread and wheat bread. And I have made some sourdough starter and made my own sourdough bread. I'd like to make some videos on that, but I can't get the sourdough started. Keep forgetting. Okay, so now we add the flour 1 cup at a time. And I used my measuring cup for potatoes, so I'm going to use a 1/2 cup for this. So we add 1 cup at a time and gently stir. 1, 2, that's 1 cup. Oh boy, my yeast is nice and puffy looking. See how much that rose? Wow, that worked great. Okay, so it says once this is cool enough, perfect, we can add this. Wow, that was super foamy. I don't think I've had yeast work that well in a long time. What did I do right? Okay. Oh yeah, I still need this. We'll add 1 more cup of this, and then we'll add the milk and the egg. So in all, we're going to be adding 6 cups of flour, so that's 2. I have to keep track of how many cups of flour I've added. There we go. Okay, let's add milk. Take care not to get shells in there. Okay, good. 2 eggs. Add enough milk to make it to 1 cup. Done. Add to this. We'll add more flour. So this will be the 3rd cup of flour. Stir. I love this big bowl for mixing bread. Shout out to my mom for getting this for me on clearance at JCPenney's. She always gets the best deals. It was a set of 3. I use all of them, but I like to call this one my bread bowl. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna add our 4th cup of flour. I gotta go close my coop. It's starting to get dark. I gotta get this made. And I don't think we have to add anything else to it other than flour. And then, of course, you separate it into 2 because it'll make 2 loaves. And you let it rise. And you don't separate it into 2 until you let it rise. Duh. Haven't made bread in a while. Sorry, guys. Okay, so it's getting hard to stir. Working those muscles. There's 5. I'm about to have to start getting my hands in there. Oh yeah, I can't really stir it very good anymore. Cool. Okay. Hands dirtiness activated. So we'll just go ahead and put cup 6 in there. Now I can get these potato chunks. So you don't want it to be sticky. You want it to be elastic, and you want to be able to handle it. So right now, the stage we're at, obviously, it's very sticky, sticking to my hands. So at this point, because I've added my 6 cups, I'm just going to start dumping flour in it. I usually end up doing this to bread. It always calls for a certain amount. Sorry, I'm having a hard time breathing. It always calls for a certain amount, but I find I always end up having to add more. It should say 6 cups plus what is needed to make it the consistency that they're wanting it to be. Okay, so it's finally not as gooey. There's still some flour in the bottom of this. I need to get a new camera. I can't see it very good. Plus it's dark in my kitchen. It's getting dark outside. Okay, back to this. I get my daughter a snack. She came in here and said she wanted a snacky wacky. Okay, so it looks like it's pretty much good. It's still kind of sticking in my fingers. I think we'll add a little bit more flour. I love homemade bread. Don't you? Okay, so I'm glad I'm done with this. Now I've got to stick it in a warm place and let it rise. Or just let it rise in a warm place until doubled. So once this bowl fills up, I can take it out, punch the dough down and divide it into 2. Okay. Alright, I think that's good. So now I'm going to put it somewhere warm and let that rise until it's doubled. Our potato bread has about doubled. Punch it down. And we're going to separate it. It's very sticky. God. It's been a while since I worked with potato doughs. Should have put some flour or something on my hands. Okay. Now we let that sit for about 5 minutes, and then I'll turn each one into a loaf. Okay, here's my work area for the bread. I'm gonna lightly flour it. Something that resembles a loaf of bread. You don't want to knead it too much. You just kind of want to, let's see. Do this. And then we'll kind of just roll it up. Okay. I like my bread to have some character. And it says to stick in a loaf pan, but my loaf pan is pretty little. I'm just gonna put it on a pan, a cooking sheet. Okay. There's the second one. Okay. Just kind of flatten it a little bit and then roll it. Okay, and I greased my baking sheets. You want to grease it, that way it doesn't stick. So here's my 2 loaves. And I'm going to stick them in the oven after they've risen on these pans. You got to let them rise for about 30 minutes. You could probably spray them with a little bit of oil before you put them in there, but I usually just bake them like this, and then at the end I spread butter on it. And when they're ready to bake, you preheat your oven to 375. The potato bread has risen pretty nicely. I took it back out of the oven where I had it in the warm place to preheat the oven to 375. I'm going to stick the potato bread in there and cook it for about 30 minutes. The potato bread sure did get a lot bigger while I was making my plate for dinner and getting the oven warmed up. This one got a lot bigger too. I'll just go ahead and stick those in there. It's preheated. And cook for 25 minutes. The potato bread is done. 25 minutes was too long, I guess. I'm just gonna rub it with some butter. This one was on the bottom rack. Okay, and I'm gonna let that cool, and then I can't resist. I will probably have a slice, and I'm sure it is really good. Thank you for watching.